Hello my friends, welcome to the metal shop. Today, the Cobra project, we are installing the side vents. I picked these up from Vintage Wheels in San Diego from Bob Lacey. In upcoming video you'll see my favorite place to buy Cobra parts. Well, I bought these in a large parts haul from Vintage Wheels. I've already opened these up and had a quick look-see because these are not symmetrical. One for the passenger side, one for the driver's side. And what I'm going to do, I bought these from Vintage Wheels. I did some good research. The price was competitive. There's cheaper ones out there, but guess what? They come unassembled. You get to do this lovely little aluminum origami project yourself. These had the right dimensions that fit my car, and they're not all the same. So anyway, that's the passenger side. They come with these little angled pieces of aluminum here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bolt or rivet a piece of these to the top here, like so. And then to get them to bolt to the fiberglass, I'm going to use these Rotalocs. And what these will do is I will use some epoxy adhesive, or I think maybe I'll use JB Weld to glue these to the fiberglass, so it will give me a stud to bolt this to the side. You know, the original cars were aluminum, and this could be, studs could be welded, to the body. These Rotaloc Fasteners came from McMaster-Carr, and I can't take credit for coming up with this idea. Guy, his YouTube channel is called The Illegal Garage. He's building a Factory 5, and he's kind of doing a very modern, lots of billet aluminum version. But he turned me onto these and even hooked me up with a part number. So thanks to The Illegal Garage. Give his channel a look-see. All right, so let's get one of these fitted up to the side and have a look. All right, so I'm just holding this in place. It fits nice and snugly in there. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to tape this on and make a bunch of marks, and I'm going to tape on that angled aluminum there and make some marks on that as well, on the inside of the body here, as to where that's all going to end up. There's like a ridge in here that this will fit right around that ridge. So cool. Let's get this going. I have the vents fitted where I like them. Got them taped in place. Realized it was a lot easier to tape them from the outside, like so. And what I did was I put the angle iron in place, and then I used a black Sharpie to mark the vent, and then a silver paint Sharpie to mark the body. And I do have a couple of these. I bought some of these shorter, whatever these things are called, these glue-on studs. I think I'm going to end up using the shorter ones. I bought the long ones and the short ones. I think the short ones are going to be long enough without having to thread a screw for 100 yards. I think I'm going to have to use 2 per, so 4 per vent. I was going to do 1, but 1 is just not going to cut it. The vent, it's light aluminum. It would be able to move if I only used 1. So I'm going to use 2. Let's have a quick look underneath the car. So you can see the black Sharpie and the paint Sharpie there. I am going to have to trim these down. They have these flats. I'm going to have to cut almost to the stud probably. I'm going to have to cut a little bit off. You see there. I'm going to have to cut some off. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to bolt these. I'll cut these down, and I'm going to bolt them to that angle. I'll get the whole thing bolted together. I'll bolt the angle to the vent. I'll bolt this to the angle and use that to mark exactly where I'm going to glue these on. So yeah, it's a little fiddly. Not one of your more complex projects, but it is, you know, it is kind of a it is kind of a pain. Working from the bottom is actually easier in this case than trying to get up through the hood opening and reach all the way under to this other side here. So yeah. All right, so have all the studs glued in place. That's gonna have to wait until tomorrow before we, you know, I gotta let the JB weld dry before I finally install the plates here. Tried to drill them all the same, didn't really work out, so it drifted a little bit and so on and so forth. Hack job, I know. So I just labeled them so that the studs, I put the studs in, lined them up, scribed, you know, I scribed marks around them with the silver paint pen and glued them into place here. So let's try, move you upside down here. Let's see. There, we can see them. And I'm just checking them periodically to make sure that they don't drift down a little bit. You can see the marks I've scribed there. See the studs glued in place. And I'm not sure, I think now I have to wait. I'm going to bolt the angles to the vents itself because it's going to be kind of finagly, I'm sure. What I may end up doing is actually slotting the hole a little bit because those studs actually have a little bit of a ridge on them that, you know, push this angle out, and it also all the JB weld is going to push this out a little bit too. So I'd like to get something else done, so I may just pull these vents out like I said, install the angles, and I'll just slot those holes to give me a little bit. And I know for a fact I'm gonna need that slot anyway. You know, you're trying to line up, you know, 8 bolts per, you know, per vent. So yeah, let's pull these off and get those angles mounted up. So we have the passenger side mounted. That was kind of my test case there. I'll take you over the bench and we will work on the driver's side. Take you upside down here. Hey, look at my feet. You can kind of see what we got going on in there. I should have used shorter bolts to bolt the vent to that bracket, but I had these on hand, and today, making an extra trip to the hardware store to buy more bolts, I can just cut these if I really care. You're never going to see them, so on. So I am just going to leave them. Came out pretty good. So yeah, we'll go over on the workbench and we'll talk about this just a tiny little bit. All right. So the first thing I want to tell you is learn from my mistakes here. I put the bracket where it would fall nice and flat on here, and that's fine. But when you're drilling holes in the bracket to the vent, if you're careful, you can hide where the bolt heads come through. See that one? Back there. Sorry, with my finger. Darn it. It's hidden. Anyway, this front one here is hidden way up in there. There it is. There, you see it now. Great camera work. The back one is going to be observable. So just you choose where to drill the holes. Just take care. Same with the top here. The back bolt, you can't see at all. It is way back there. The front bolt, it's going to be a little bit visible. No worries. These are the holes you want to drill oversized so that when you put the vent in, you can move it around a little bit. What I did get was a little bit of drift from the Rotalocs where I glued them in place. I tried to, I made witness marks and I tried to keep that Rotaloc in place on the witness mark. Gravity, it wants to sag. I went back there a couple times and the glue kind of obscured the witness mark, the outline that I'd made around there. So I got a little bit of drift. So what you may have to punch these holes out a little bit. And again, you want these big so that you can move this up and down and around and get it right where you want it in the opening. That's what's important. And then you just use a washer and a nylock nut here on the other side when you're putting it in place. And I did loosen these as well just to give me just that little bit more wiggle room there. So let's go and get this one fitted up and see how we did. I'm under the car here. See if we can't get this going on here. I did a test fit here so I know. Sometimes, my friends, it's better to be lucky than good. I ended up, all 4 of those bolts just slipped right on and looks great. So I'm gonna put some washers, some lock nuts there, tighten down these, call it good. Friggin' awesome. So happy how the driver's side turned out. Passenger side turned out great too, but this was just a whole lot easier. Cool. Okay, so we're done. Came out great. I'm really proud of how this turned out because, you know, I had to mount these from scratch. This wasn't like a factory 5 that this is all planned out for you. This I had to do completely on my own. So anyway, quick recap. Picked these up from Vintage Wheels, pretty nice piece. What we did was we taped the vent in place so that we liked the way that it looked and filled the opening properly. This looks bad here because I got the gel coat off a little bit, but trust me, it's actually nice and subtle. Okay, so we taped it in the opening. Then we used the angled L brackets that they had there, and we marked the vent with a Sharpie, and we made witness marks on the inside of the fiberglass with a silver paint pen, okay? Then we drilled for the Rotalocs, and learn from my mistakes. Try and drill the angled pieces however you do it. Get them all so they're exactly the same. I marked mine because they're all slightly different. If you get them exactly the same, make your life a lot easier. Also, of note, the Rotalocs. I had to cut down. You need one flat side where it mounted here up against the vent. I cut them with a Dremel. Those are aluminum. They get scaldingly hot, like 1,000 degrees hot. Ask me how I know. All right. So we drilled the angles. We put in the cut Rotalocs, and we drew witness marks where those were going to go. Then I used JB Weld. You use a similar type of epoxy, something very strong, and we glued the Rotalocs to the inside of the body. And we went back and checked on them. I love JB Weld because it's so thick and just so sticky. You can stick the piece right on and it hardly moved. They drifted a little bit. I had to come back a couple times and just kind of wipe the glue with a stick and make sure that they stayed where I wanted them to. Okay, fine. 24 hours later, we come back and we drilled out the holes large in the angle that mounts up against the body here so we could move this up and down, because getting all 4 of those glued Rotalocs to line up, next to impossible. So we did that, and then we fitted them up. Now remember what I said here. Make sure you can hide your bolts where the vent bolts to the angle. Do a better job than me at hiding those bolts. Just use a little forethought, think ahead, learn from my mistake. Also, inside there where, let's see if we'll go upside down just quickly here, where I use those long bolts that you see right there, use the right size bolts. Those, even though I tried to offset and stagger the holes, a couple spots like this one was terrible. They got in the way. That extra long bolt got in the way of tightening up this other one here. Use the proper size bolts, plan ahead. Okay, and bolt the thing in place. Awesome. Now, why is it important that I get these on? And curiously enough, and I've looked at tons of historic photographs and even the replicas, these are always painted body color. So these need to be mounted in place when you paint the car. So cool. Anyway, super happy with how the vents turned out, and hope you guys could learn a little bit from my mistakes and tackle this project for yourself. Anyway, my friends, sincerely appreciate your support as always. If you're new to the channel, please give me a subscribe. Hit me up in the comments. If you do subscribe, hit the little notification bell. I try and put out one automotive related video a week. I don't always stick to that. I have a full-time job. YouTube is not my full-time profession. All right, my friends, take care. Again, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.